It's crazy that you can't even see this there,
Yeah.
All right. You can see yours if you want to move over. Okay. What's up, chat? So, Knicks Pistons. We're doing a little Knicks Piston preview, some hot takes, some things that are going to happen in this series that maybe people don't realize. And yes, so let's get right into it. Knicks Pistons, round 1, Saturday night, game 1. All right. Now, let's just touch on a few main things here. This is going to be a tougher series than people may think, I think. People think the Knicks are just going to walk over the Pistons. I think this is going to be a tough series. This is going to be a long series. By the way, don't forget to like and follow the chat. We appreciate you, chat. Drop your takes below. I think that the Knicks should win this series. They should win it in 5 or 6. They have more talent than the Pistons, but it's all going to come down to the coaching rotations, matchups, and different things that each of these coaches do and how they adjust. Now, someone made a point today, which I think is interesting, that probably the best series that Thibodeau's coached in the playoffs was what, do you think, in his Knicks career?
The Cavs series 2 years ago.
Correct. And who was the coach of the Cavs that year?
Jimmy Bickerstaff.
Correct. So this is a similar – Bickerstaff has a similar team. It's a physical team. They were in Cleveland. The Knicks did stuff that series they didn't expect. So will Thibodeau have a similar success against Bickerstaff that he did 2 years ago against Cleveland? Now, Bickerstaff will also be someone. I don't think he's going to put a wing on Towns. It's going to be interesting to see how he guards Josh Hart. That's going to be the thing. Does he put his wing on Towns, or does he keep Duren, which he's done this year? He just put Duren on Towns.
You should put a Sar Thompson on Towns.
They might put a Sar Thompson on Brunson a little bit.
Yeah,
too. Sar Thompson's one of the best.
Yeah, but Cade's a good defensive player.
No, I bet Jeff Brunson's cooking. You know what I'm saying? And they might want to not tire Cade out on defense.
Yeah.
To let him score on offense. So I guess the start is, what do you think? Clippers beating Nuggets in 6? I think that's possible for sure. That's a toss-up series, to be honest with you. What do you think is the biggest key for the Knicks from a matchup standpoint? Let's say this. What way do you think the Knicks could lose the series? How do you think they could lose the series?
I think the fact that Detroit is much younger, more athletic, faster than us.
Yep.
If you fall into the trap of playing at their tempo, where they run you up and down the court and they jack up threes, I think that's where you can get in trouble and lose the series.
Yep. I agree. By the way, I like the Warriors over the Rockets.
Me too.
I like the Warriors.
The Rockets were like the Thunder last year. They were either way.
Warriors in 6 is what I would say. You?
Yeah, 6, 7.
Yeah. So, how far OKC to the finals? I think OKC is going to the finals.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if they didn't. I know the Lakers have been good. I know there are other good teams in the West, the Clippers, obviously the Warriors. I would be shocked if the Lakers didn't go to the final. The OKC didn't go to the final, excuse me. I think they're that much better. In terms of the Knicks, I think that here's my question. Can the Knicks afford a below average Bridges series?
No,
offensively.
I think they really do need Bridges and OG to play the way that they were playing. Obviously, they're not going to score the same level because Brunson's on the court, but play the way they were playing when Brunson was out for the 15 games.
And that's going to be the interesting thing, too, is how much is Tibbs going to – is this going to be the Brunson show like it was last year in the playoffs? But the Knicks last year, if you remember, they didn't have Randall.
I know.
And OG got hurt game 2 of the Pacers series. So, he had a lot of runway because they didn't really have a lot of scoring options. They have a plethora of scoring options.
Exactly.
They have Towns.
And Bogdanovich got hurt the first
series.
Correct.
Bogdanovich got hurt. They have Towns. They have Bridges. They have OG now. They have Brunson, obviously. And even Deuce can give you a score. So they have guys who could score. So the question to me, what I think the Knicks need to do is Brunson needs to be a better playmaker in this series. And I love Brunson, by the way. But Brunson, to me, what he needs to do in this series, and really throughout the playoffs, the Knicks are going to have a chance, even if they win the series, to even be competitive against Boston. He has got to get his guys going early. OG and Bridges specifically, but including Towns. Get those guys the shots they need early. Get them going early. And then when it's money time, when the game's on the line, then Brunson can start to take over.
Yeah,
but I'd rather Brunson have 10 to 12 assists and 20 to 22 points instead of 35 and 4 assists.
Me too. I think first of all, the way the game
Pistons
goes,
in 4. Chase, come on, Chase.
I think the way the game
Pistons
goes
in 4, Chase,
is going to dictate the way how Brunson's scoring. But I will believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
Thibodeau
they have not played that way.
The Jalen Brunson show.
Yeah, they have not played that way.
All he does is empower the Jalen Brunson show. And I love Brunson. Brunson's a great player. and he's one of the few players out there who can win you games in the playoffs.
Chase says Cade averages 40.
He said by himself.
I would be. Listen, I'll say a lot of things. I would not be shocked the Pistons won this series. I would be shocked if they swept.
My hot take. My hot take for this video right now, for this live, is that the Pistons are going to win in 6.
Okay,
it's my hot take for the live.
Yes, you're right. One dad pool. The Knicks need to defend the 3-point line, and the bench needs to show up. I agree. But you know what has to happen for the bench to show up? They have to get playing time.
Yep.
And last year, Tibbs was not comfortable enough playing his bench, and therefore they didn't get a lot of playing time. And then it wasn't until too late that you saw a few guys off the bench start to step up. But he's going to have to call on his bench. Is he going to do that, or is he going to go with the usual rotation, 7 guys, maybe 8 in the first half, and that's it? So Cat and Brunson will be a top 3 duo in the playoffs. Okay, so let me ask you this. Whatever, whatever that username is, we got to figure that out. Do you think the Knicks have a chance against Boston if they beat Detroit? If you think Cat and Brunson will be a top 3 duo, because that's what it sounds like to me. Quickly, Sahaj, the Warriors-Grizzlies about the refs. He's asking about the Warriors-Grizzlies and the refs. I thought that was one of the worst officiated playoff game that I've seen in a long time on both sides.
It's a playoff game.
And I didn't think there was favoritism really on either side. I thought it was poorly refereed on both sides. I thought it was awful.
There were a lot of missed calls.
A lot of bad calls. Yeah. A lot of missed calls and a lot of bad calls. It was a terribly officiated game. And honestly, the refs should be ashamed of themselves at how bad that game was. That's how bad it was. If that answers your question.
I'm sure they are.
You like the Magic beating the Celtics in 7? Wow, we really got some aggressive people on here. Let me explain something to you.
The Magic are the only team in the East that have a winning record against Celtics.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this to you right now. Hell will freeze over before the Magic beat the Celtics in this series. How's that?
I agree.
Hell will freeze over. There's no way that's
the Magic are lucky if they get 1 game off the Celtics.
I agree. And the regular season doesn't mean anything.
I agree. No, I was just saying.
Celtics fan says sweep. I agree. Celtics fan, let me ask you this.
I can see the Celtics love to do this thing in the playoffs where like 1 game they just don't try and they lose.
Well, they did that the last couple of years.
I can see that happening in this series. Like 1 game they just
Let's ask the Celtics fan. Do you have any concern playing the Knicks if the Knicks were to get to the Celtics in the second round? Or do you think you would sweep the Knicks as well? Why did he run that out?
Yeah, he's safe.
Jason Tatum will be great. He's a star player. He's not going to have a bad series.
As a Knicks fan, I have no
negative.
Worries.
So you think Celtics fan? What do you think Knicks Celtics in the second round if that happens? What's your prediction there? So in terms of the Knicks in this Pistons series, I think the 2 biggest keys are going to be is Tibbs if Josh Hart is not making his threes, because he's gonna try.
What do you mean if?
Well, he made him in the Sixers series last year, and he wasn't shooting well in the regular season.
Is that the only time you've ever seen Josh Hart hit threes consistently in the Sixers series?
Probably, yeah. But he did make them in the Sixers series. So, and that was a big reason they won that series.
It was a main reason they won that series.
So if he's not making his threes, Dat Sugar says Knicks will be Pistons. I agree. I think the Knicks will win in 5. That's what I think.
5?
I do.
Really?
Yeah, I just don't think the Pistons have enough talent. What I think happens in the playoffs, and I'll answer this now because we're talking about it anyway. Respectfully, Knicks and Celtics in 6, but maybe 7. Okay, you gave us that much credit. That's fine. I don't think the Knicks have a chance of beating Boston, but I appreciate that.
I don't think they have a chance of winning more than 1 game.
What I think happens in these playoff series, as a Celtics fan, you're only worried about Cleveland. Makes sense. You shouldn't be worried about anyone else, by the way. That's the truth. As a Knicks fan, I'm telling you, that's the only team you should be worried about.
And you should be worried about OKC.
Well, yeah, when you get there. The thing about what happens in the playoffs, which it gets swept under the rug in the regular season, and Ty says the Pistons take the series. I disagree with you, Ty. Not the Pacers. They're not going to be worried about the Pacers. Even though the Pacers are playing very good ball at the end of the season, I will say.
I think the Pacers are the 3rd best team in the East.
Me too. What I would say about the playoffs, which is different for the regular season, that not having that second score hurts you in the playoffs way more than it hurts you in the regular season. I think that's where the Pistons, to me, are going to have problems in this series. They don't have a second guy. The playoffs are called a lot tighter. There aren't as many fouls. Wow. There aren't as many fouls. I think the Warriors could go to the conference finals. That's as far as they can go. And if everything goes well for them, that's as far as they can go. And Brandon says Lakers over Wolves in 5. So you think, T-Wolves, She-Wolves, whatever, Lakers in 5. That expression that Shannon Sharp started?
Oh, yeah.
So I would say that's going to hurt the Pistons in this series. I know they played well against the Knicks in the regular season. They did. But the playoffs are a different beast. And when the game bogs down, these games are close. They're called. You need that guy that you could just go to get a bucket. And if they don't have that second guy to do that. And to me, that's going to be the issue for them. The Rockets are not serious contenders, Wilco. I don't believe so. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
They don't have their second scorer. Now, Cade could get 30, but to be honest, I'll say one more thing and then you answer this. If I'm the Knicks, this is how I play this. It would be an easy thing for me.
Completely take Cade out of the equation.
I would let Cade beat me. I would say, you know what? If Cade's going to score 30, 35, that's fine. They don't have a second guy to score 30, 35. I don't want Beasley and Hardaway getting open threes.
The thing is,
I don't want to do
once
that.
Cade is cooking like that, then other guys.
I'm not saying leave him open. I'm saying guard him. I don't need to double team Cade. I want to make sure that Beasley and Hardaway, who have killed us this year on open threes,
I would also
get open threes.
I would also put OG on Cade.
Yeah, so would I.
And then you know what they're going to do, and they're going to put Bridges on Cade.
Yeah.
They're going to destroy him.
So, yeah, and fouls are called less. How far does OKC go? Nice one, Apple Juice. He says since fouls are called less, how far are they going to go? I think they're going to the finals. I really do. I think they're that good. And even if Shea doesn't score 33 a game, he scores 27 a game. I still think that they have so much there offensively, defensively, best defensive team in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
You know, they haven't, when they've had their full team with Hartenstein and Chet in the same lineup, they've been unstoppable. I think, and then remember, people who say OKC, and yes, the one dad pool, open threes have killed Knicks all year, 100%.
By the way, what defense does Thibodeau coach?
He leaves open threes.
Yeah, he funnels everyone to the paint and leaves open threes.
What happened this year, and everyone's like, oh, the Lakers beat OKC at the end of the year. Well, you got to remember this. OKC was up by 20 games in the West the last half the season. They haven't needed to try since like December. So these games are not as motivating to them that it would be if the schedule was close. And I say the same thing for Boston and Cleveland this year. Like, they were not playing for anything the second half of the year. Cleveland knew they were 1, Boston knew they were 2, and really the Knicks knew they were 3.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get that motivation. You're not playing. As a Knicks fan, Tibbs needs to go, Dad Sugar. I can't argue there.
Yeah.
I think, especially if they lose in the first round or they get smoked by Boston, they get absolutely fried by Boston, I think that you can make an argument it's time for a change. And that you would not be wrong for that, especially when you've seen coaches that have way more winning the last few years than Tibbs have been fired already, including Mike Malone, who's a championship.
Yeah. And
who's
Taylor
winning
Jenkins,
it all?
by the way.
Lakers 5 over Minnesota, says Chris. Who's winning it all this year?
I think OKC is going to win it all this
year. OKC is going to win it all? I have Boston over OKC, personally.
I have OKC over Boston.
But I would say this, right? Which teams do we think Boston's running through in the East? I think Boston will play. Well, they're playing Orlando. I think they're going to play the Knicks, and then I think they're going to play Cleveland. I think the NBA. The one thing about the NBA, usually these things go pretty much road.
Well, last year they didn't in the West.
Well, yeah, because
Dallas the East, got to the finals. The Pistons got to the Western Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals.
The Pistons,
not the Pistons, Pacers.
The Pacers, yeah. Well, yeah, true. I mean, the injuries kind of sided, helped out in the East, but.
I mean, Dallas went to the finals last year. No one had
Pistons in 6, says Elliot. Elliot, why do you think Pistons in 6 is my question? And don't forget to like and follow the chat. We appreciate you, chat. Houston will give Golden State a series. I agree. I just think Houston is much like OKC was last year. They're too young this year. They're a very talented team. And you know what else about Houston, which is going to bedevil them in these playoffs, which OKC didn't have to deal with last year as much? They don't have that alpha guy that you could say, hey, when the game we have this guy that's going to go get buckets. And OKC had that last year, and they were still too young.
Yeah.
Houston doesn't, which is why I think Houston's going to go out and get a Kevin Durant in the offseason or Devin Booker, someone of that nature. Houston's going to go get that player because they know that's their one thing they're missing.
Or Giannis.
And I think Amen Thompson could become a second scorer, first scorer. He's just not there yet. They need the number one scorer. I'm not sleeping on Jalen Green, by the way. He's a really good player. He's just not that guy. He's not him. He's not that number one. He's dog. He's not that. Do playoff Jimmy and Curry beat the Rockets? They do. What do you think?
Yes.
I think they win in 6.
I think so too.
And by the way, I don't think I think Golden State could lose to any of these series. It's not like they're going to go on this magical run where they're just going to beat teams easily. I think the West could go either way all the way through. But I think when you're looking at it, Golden State's got the experience. Now they have 2 alpha bona fide bucket getter scorers at the end of these games that could go for 30 to 35 any game. And I think that's going to be tough to beat. I think they're going to have, the funny thing is there's a lot of duos that are going off right now in the West. Curry and Butler, LeBron and Luka, Kawhi and Harden, right?
Shea and Jalen Williams.
And listen, if Murray's healthy, you have Jokic and Murray.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things.
Randall and Edwards.
Chris, you're right. In close games, Houston doesn't have that dude. They don't. If Ja didn't get hurt, they would have beaten the Warriors. They might have. That game is going to come down to the wire. You might be right about that. But he got hurt. So we can't be able to predict that. We'll see if the Grizzlies can take care of Dallas.
Is Ja playing?
I don't know. That's a good question. I was thinking about that. That's tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to see. But it's a great point.
Ja just can't stay on the court.
No, he can't. He just can't stay on the court. And listen, Steph went through that at the beginning of his career, and then he righted it. So maybe Ja can do that. If Bully Randall shows up, Wolves make conference finals. Randall's the whole key to that team. I agree.
Yes.
Now, do I think that's going to happen? I'm not sure.
He's finally healthy.
Now, I will say this. I will say this about the playoffs for him. He doesn't have the pressure of playing in New York.
He's also
Minnesota's not New York.
He also has not been healthy entering the playoffs.
It was only 1 year, though.
That's not true.
The first year against the Hawks, he was healthy.
I'm saying since that season.
Yeah, but he didn't play last year.
I know.
I'm talking about he only had 2 playoffs.
That's true.
The second one, yes, he wasn't healthy. The first one, he was just bad. Now, he doesn't have the pressure of playing in New York.
The first one also, he had no team up around him.
Still, he was an all-NBA player that year.
He was.
So you got to step up. Now, Randall, I think, can step up. I think there's not as much pressure in Minnesota.
None.
And not only that, even with Brunson, he didn't have Brunson when Brunson was Brunson. Brunson 2 years ago was really good. He was not what he was in the playoffs. So Ann is going to garner a lot more attention than Brunson 2 years ago did against Miami.
Yeah.
Where Randall's going to have a lot more room to operate.
Randall doesn't have as big of a role in that offense as he did.
He doesn't. Now, I'll say
he averaged under 20 points a game this year.
Yes, and I agree, by the way. Healthy, quiet Harden is a problem, 100%. Especially the way Harden's been playing.
Harden's been balling.
Been playing great. But one thing, and we'll finish up here in a couple minutes. One thing about Randall and the Wolves against the Lakers is it's not a great matchup defensively for the Wolves. Why do I say this? The Lakers play a lot of lineups where Hachimura and Finney-Smith are the 4 and 5, with Reeves, Luka, and LeBron. They're going to play Gobert off the floor.
Yep.
They're going to play Mike Conley off the floor. Mm-hmm. And so when they do that, Randall's going to have to guard someone in space. He's going to have to guard LeBron maybe.
Yep.
He's going to have to guard Austin Reeves. Is he going to be able to do that? He has not been great at that in his career. So he's key to me on both ends of the floor. McDaniels, they're going to put on Luka. Mm-hmm. They got
or Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Or Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They got Ant, but you don't want Ant guarding the other team's best player with the highest usage because you need him with energy for offense. So Ant might guard
Reeves.
He might guard Reeves. Yeah. So you need Randall is going to have to play a key role, not just on offense, but on defense. So that's my big question. He's not guarded in space well in the past. So that's my big question there. I'm going to take the upset. I'm going to pick Minnesota in 7.
I disagree.
But that's just because I want to take an upset because I'm not confident.
My upset is Pistons.
Okay. That's fine. Can the Pacers Bucks give Cleveland trouble? The Pacers can. The Bucks would not. The Pacers can, but they won't win the series, in my opinion. But they can give them trouble. I think go 6 or 7 games to the Pacers. Yeah, the way they're playing.
Listen, the Pacers are...
And they have a great home court.
The Pacers are a very deep team with good shooting. They're athletic. They're fast. They run you up and down the court. Their downfall always is that they're a bad defensive team.
Yeah, and they have a great home court, too.
They do have a great home court.
Yeah.
Cleveland does, too.
Sahaj says, I hate when Steph gets grabbed a lot and they don't call fouls for him. Hey, I think Steph's okay. I don't think you got to worry about it. I understand he's getting beat up a lot at the end of the year, but if you see Brunson, we're Knicks fans. Brunson gets the same treatment at the end of the year. They don't call fouls. They let these guys grab and tug at the end of the year and into the playoffs. And you know what? I don't have a problem with it.
No,
I prefer that as long as they're consistent.
I prefer a more physical game than a foul every 5 seconds.
As long as they're consistent.
Yeah.
And they let the guys
as long as they don't start calling ticky-tack fouls in select situations, I'm fine with it.
Don't forget to like and follow the chat. We appreciate you, chat. He says Hawks or Heat tomorrow. I have the Heat. The Hawks just don't play defense enough.
I have the Hawks.
All right. So what
the Heat are not.
We're going opposite from each other today.
Yeah.
All right. So let's wrap up the Knicks here. I appreciate you, chat. Don't forget to like and follow the chat. We'll be here every day. I'll be here more tomorrow. And as we get to the NFL draft, we have a huge show for the NFL draft. Huge live show. We're going to have whole nother setup, visuals, game cast, simulcasting, you name it. Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, whatever. All right?
Instagram?
Maybe not on Instagram. Maybe Instagram, maybe not. But whatever it is, we're going to have so many things planned. What time for the draft? We'll be on pretty much all night on next Thursday.
Is the draft at 8 p.m.
I think the draft's at 8. We'll be on starting with the Knick game at 7.
Yeah.
The Knick game's at 7 on Thursday. We'll be on for that. We're going to be here for every road Knick game. We're going to be at the Garden for the home Knick games. But for road Knicks games, we'll be here. For the Lakers, Wolves, we'll be here. For the Rockets, Warriors, we'll be here. We'll be here for all the big ones. And the NFL draft is going to be a huge show. Huge show. So stay tuned for that. We're doing the NBA draft as well. Yes. Yeah. Definitely. But that's not we got a little time on that. But yes, it's going to be a huge show. So and we're also going to do some yes, let's go Knicks. We're going to do some NFL draft kind of preview shows next week leading up to the draft. We're going to go really in depth on all the main things and major moves that could be made, guys that you should be looking at to go to certain teams, moving up in the draft, moving back in the draft, all that stuff. Surprises, whatever. Okay, we're going to be doing all that. We're going to break down all the NBA playoff series as well, all the big series at least. Okay, I don't know if I'm breaking down Cleveland and Orlando. Okay, I got to be honest. Or Cleveland and the Heat or the Hawks. I don't know if I'm going through that, but we'll see. But we're going through the big ones, and we got a big draft show. You gonna break that one down? Yeah, Pacers Bucks, especially now Dame's playing.
I know.
So yes, I think we got to break down. So let's finish up. Let's finish up with the Knicks here. I have the Knicks in 5. He has the Pistons in 6. Okay, he's a Knicks fan who's selling out. He's a trader.
I'm not selling out. I'm just not a homer.
He's a trader.
I'm going to tell you how I feel.
And not a homer is also translated as a trader. Okay, so he's a trader. I'm going to stick with my group, but I also think the Knicks will win in 5. I think the Knicks just have too much talent, and I think the Pistons don't have a second scorer, which is going to hurt them in these playoffs because Cade is going to get his. But if the Knicks don't leave Beasley and Tim Hardaway wide open, which they tend to do, they're going to have to find. You know who they're going to probably go to as the second scorer?
Tobias Harris.
I think it's going to be Schroeder too.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're discounting Tobias Harris, who
I'm not. I just don't think
who is a veteran guy who can get a bucket. And Schroeder is a veteran guy.
We just haven't seen him be the traditional second scorer in the playoffs. He has not come up.
I know. Well, he hasn't really. Yeah. I know. So he was in a lot of he's got no pressure in this situation.
That's
the Pistons
true.
Are playing with house
money.
They're
playing with house money. If the Pistons get swept, nobody's going to care.
Right.
And the third reason I think the Knicks are going to win is because I just don't think the Pistons are going to have a home court in this series. I think that even the Pistons home games are going to be a lot of Knicks fans.
You don't like the Palace?
I like the Palace, but I think there's going to be, especially right now, till the Pistons reestablish themselves, start winning again. You saw the regular season games this year. It was
well, the Knicks do that everywhere.
I know, but not everywhere like that. Yeah, I think there's gonna be a lot of Knicks fans in the building, and that's gonna be the
Knicks took over Philly. Philly is a good fan base.
Yeah, but it's right here though. Detroit, you have to at least take a plane to.
Yeah.
So I think that's gonna be an issue. Playing a team with nothing to lose, no pressure. Yes, it is definitely dangerous. One dad.
Listen,
for sure.
If the Pistons take 1 of 2 at the Garden,
Knicks fans are everywhere, 100%.
If the Pistons take 1 of 2 at the Garden, there's gonna be a ton of pressure on the Knicks.
Yep.
And the Pistons are gonna be playing loose 100%. And fast.
That's true. Here's what I will say. Last thing I'm going to say. And you're talking about the 2025 draft players, the NFL draft, you're saying? Is that what you're asking me? I'll say this about the Pistons and this series. Yeah, we're going to the first playoff game for the Knicks. Yes, we are.
Really golf that one, doesn't it?
Yeah. We're going for the first game and the second one. We're going to games 1 and 2. We'll be at both games. The NBA draft, we're going to go through all the NBA draft players too. We'll do that, 100%.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. We'll go through all that stuff.
Might have our boy Wasserman.
Yeah. So the one thing about the series too, okay? Everything you need to know about this series, you're going to find out in game 1.
Yep.
You're going to find out if the Pistons are ready to play in this series. Mm-hmm. If they're too inexperienced and they're not ready for the bright lights, you're going to find out how much trouble they're going to give the Knicks, and you're going to find out if they can win the series. Because if they get trounced in game 1, they're not winning the series. That's what I would say. Series is over if the Knicks blow them out in game 1.
Yeah.
I think game 1's going to tell you everything you need to know.
If game 1 is close, the Knicks should be nervous.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's Tiki Barber.
Yeah, or is that Rondé?
No, it's Tiki because he's with these co-hosts.
Tierney?
I think, Evan Roberts. I think that No, I don't think it matters if the game's close in terms of the Knicks. I just think it matters from the Pistons standpoint.
No, that's what I'm saying.
The Pistons need to at least keep this game close, and I honestly think if they want to win this series, they have to win this game.
They need to win one of the first two games.
Yeah, but I think it's easier to win the first game than the second game. You catch a team, they've had a week off.
I agree.
The Knicks are rusty. They haven't played them yet.
Also, the Pistons played well at the Garden.
They did play. They won both games.
They're going to come with a lot of confidence.
They won both games of the Garden. So we appreciate you. We'll be back tomorrow for some more NBA stuff. Maybe we'll sprinkle in some draft. Maybe we'll sprinkle in some other stuff that's going on with the NBA playoffs. We appreciate you. The shot clock is out. Peace. All right. See, at least when you go TikTok too, you get those.
I know, but like, if we're gonna do the draft one, you gotta interact with the chat less.
No, that's what you want to do.
No, but you like, did you want to like?
We're gonna interact with the draft. That's what you want to do. It keeps the show moving, and that's what people want to see. That's what people want to see.
I mean, otherwise.